Acting 101 is a monthly podcast featuring video game voice actors / actors in general, also including Ben Starr, who you might know as Clive from Final Fantasy, and Erika Ishii, who you might know as the upcoming protagonist of Ghost of Yotei. But those two were not able to join us today. But we do have a special guest, Neil Newbon, joining us to talk about the recently released video game Dead Take. This show is entirely supported by our members on Patreon, who got this episode early and with an extra 10 minutes, which is basically a completely unedited version. They also have the ability to submit questions and guest requests. So a huge thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon for allowing us to make this entirely sponsorship-free, very niche show. But whether you're a supporter or not, we hope you enjoy the episode.
The thing that occurred to me, Abu, that's wild is that from the last episode that we had, Dead Take wasn't even out. And by the time that this episode is published, Dead Take hadn't even been announced. Dead Take will be out.
Yeah.
You made a whole video game in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep, 2 weeks from start to finish.
That's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally from start to finish. That's how you record it.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember on day one when you hadn't even got a game.
2 weeks ago.
Shoot some stuff. And you're like, okay, where's the game coming? It'll be ready in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's how they do that. Yeah. Which is why we have Neil Newbon on today. Welcome, Neil, who is the protagonist of Dead Take from Surgent Studios. Yes. Tell us about it. What is this video game?
What is the video game? Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, you should totally take this. All I was going to say was this video game is a product of great friendship and fun times. Is all I'm going to add to it. So
you know what?
You should do
that is actually so true. The fact that it literally was born out of me being like, I just want to work with really cool people and really cool friends and make something really, really fun and like everyone kind of let go and have fun with it. Like that's essentially it. Dead Take is really, I mean, like that is kind of like I'd say like where it was born from. But you know, the premise of the game is essentially it's a horror game, right? It's a first-person psychological sort of horror where you are in a mansion, exploring a mansion because you're looking for your friend who is also an actor, and trying to figure out what happened to them at this party that happened at this lavish Hollywood mansion that belongs to Duke Kane, who is this like big Hollywood exec, essentially. And yeah, and that's really truly the premise of it as a whole. And really the gameplay is you playing as Chase Lowry, who is another actor, who is Neil. And you will be finding all these different pieces that essentially tell you the story of what's happened and what's gone on in this mansion. And you'll discover all these different other actors and their different audition tapes, their interviews and whatnot. And Vinny is actually played by Ben, who is annoyingly not here.
I know.
But it's okay. It's okay. The guy's...
Was he supposed to be here?
Yeah. But I feel like the reaction, again, for something that you announced very suddenly has been pretty tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Again, like in comparison to like Zao, where Zao, you know, we announced it at the Game Awards, big stage about grief and all this sort of stuff, and like everyone was like, this is really cool and it's really nice. And then we had like I think 3 months or 4 months lead time, so we had to fill that time with like all sorts of stuff, you know, different kind of trailers, different kind of stuff here, there and everywhere. Whereas with this, we were like, let's just announce it 2 weeks before it launches.
That's crazy.
Just kind of run with it.
Classic marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Announcing it just
Totally
before
classic.
it released.
Yeah.
Totally classic.
Why didn't you decide to do
that?
that way? Was it because like that it was less effort on marketing, more time on development, or?
I think because it was, I don't know, we just trying something different. You know, we wanted to try and see like
there's definitely a thing. Just to interject here, love. Sorry.
No,
there's definitely a thing that I've noticed more and more. And you and I are old enough. I'm definitely old enough to remember back in the day, like pre-internet. Word of mouth was user reviews. Word of mouth and mentioning things and seeing things like that was the sort of the way that things got sold out, is that people talk to each other about it. So the fact that you released it very late to the actual release of the game, I like the idea that it's actually generated enough of a buzz. Obviously, social media is a different construct where people will literally see algorithms and all the rest of it, depending on what you like, blah, blah, blah. But I also feel there maybe have been a lot of buzz by people talking to each other about it. in
Yeah.
forums, online, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that is, I really like the fact that that's become more of a trusted sense of, actually, I've got a feeling about this. I want to share my feeling with you. Oh, that's interesting. What are you doing? And sort of this communication, this community that has been set around games, the gaming industry as a whole. Although there are some problems with the communities that crop up, there are also some wonderful things about the communities, which is shared interest, shared stories, and also shared enthusiasm as well, which I
Totally.
think is great. And I do wonder, because I saw this, I mean, we posted a few things, only a few between us, and it just went completely berserk. We had so many people, in like hundreds of thousands, just in like a day or something like that.
Yeah, it was utterly, it was madness. I think like the reception so far of just posting the, you know, just the really well cut videos done by Lost and Found, like, has been sensational, because people have been reacting to, and I do believe that they are reacting to, you know, the kind of the less is more content, but we're just letting we're letting the video speak for itself, rather than telling them what they should be feeling or what they should be thinking, you know. And I think it is, as you say, it's trusting the audience and trusting the community to fill the gaps, rather than necessarily trying to, you know, fill the gaps for them. You know,
I'm a big fan of that.
You know,
I think it's important, because I think half the time whenever I see a trailer that literally gives me the entire movie or the entire game, I'm sitting there going, there is a reason that they are showing the best bits.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're not leaving anything to the imagination. It's just like, okay, either I'm being spoon-fed because maybe somebody just isn't that creative in terms of marketing. Well, we can just put everything in it, or there's a problem.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's like a major problem, and it's like, these are literally the best bits of the movie, which often is the case. You're
very
like,
good
okay, I
point.
saw all that, and I saw it in the trailer. I really like the attitude you guys have approached with this, just from a player's point of view, you know, that there is a lot of stuff that isn't explained. There is a lot of stuff that is just, here's this idea, here's this image, we're not going to tell you too much about it, discuss or have a feeling about it. I think it's great.
I got a comment on Blue Sky from someone who sarcastically was like, "Oh, I love it when a trailer tells me nothing." And I was like, I kind of think you do, dude. I kind of think you do a little.
I think you fucking love it.
that way. I think that's the thing. And I remember,
especially
like,
a horror game. Like, what do you? Yeah, true. Thanks for engaging. Especially for a horror game, I think that like so much of what you need to sell in a trailer is a tone, which you do. And I think if you're giving people like far too much indication of what they're going to be afraid of, it ruins half of the game. Like a lot of horror is in suspense. It's in the imagining the worst thing, even if that isn't what actually ends up being the reality. If you take that away from people, I think that you're kind of selling your players short.
It's so funny. I was on set today, and I can't go into too much detail, but there is a scene where I'm having to like shout something, and it was, the fact that we did it like 6 or 7 times, and I just kept like not getting it, and then the director literally just turned around and said, "Buddy, say it to yourself," basically telling me to do less. And we did it, and he was like, "That's the one." And it's like, that is literally the key thing. It's like, less is more. Don't give me everything. Like, let me work for it. And I think that's the approach that we've kind of, taken on this. It's like, let the audience work for it. Let them try and figure out what's going on, what's happening. That's the part of the whole mystery element, the whole excitement of it. And I think, like, there's been a lot of me that wants to tell and share and give everything, because I'm really happy and excited for this project. And like, don't get me wrong, like, I would love to be shouting from the rooftops everything about this, but I then also have to kind of just trust the fact that now people will get it,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a tough balance to strike. Have either of you done horror before?
Yeah. Yeah, quite a lot.
Have you? What have you done that's horror? What am I missing?
Who, me or ever?
You.
Neil.
Me. Fuck. Let me just get my CV up.
Like,
Yeah, please do.
Neil, yeah, like.
I actually, it sounds like a real douchebag thing to say, but I've done, I've lost count of how many games I've done. I think it's well over 150, including like,
No way. Oh my God.
Including performance capture and motion capture in that as well.
Yeah, that
not
counts.
Just
yeah.
Full performance or voice work, what have you. But I was in things like Resident Evil 3 remake, Resident Evil Village.
I had no idea. What?
Yeah, dude.
Oh no, I did know that. Of course I knew that. I did know that. Yeah, I feel like I just forgotten that.
No worries.
I definitely knew Village.
the thing
Yeah,
is, though, Neil, and this is just me kind of, blowing a bit of smoke up your ass, mate.
Okay.
You
Go
are.
ahead.
The thing is, mate,
surprise me.
you are, you
Sorry.
really do generally transform into the roles that you play. Like the fact that you've done so many is testament to the fact that
True.
because you've just done so many, and each and every single one, like I do feel, is so totally different. And that is like, because again, like you get a lot of the kind of lead actors who or just essentially actors in general who are, they know what they're good at, and they do their thing, and they do their thing.
Yeah, I'm talking to you right now, and I completely forgot about Heisenberg. I completely forgot.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm a fan of the house Heisenberg. I get it.
Crazy! Wow,
it's insane, and that's the thing, man. Like I think you're a chameleon, bro, and it's like, and that's why it's really, really cool when you are literally saying, yeah, I've done like 150 odd games. You're like,
quite a lot.
Holy fuck.
That's nuts.
The thing about it was that because I started in theatre, which was awesome, and then went into film and TV and had a great time, but I was always struggling against the way I looked. So it was always like going into auditions, trying very wild things with the character that I thought that's how I see the character. And half the time it was like, nah, we just want you to do what you look like. And you're like, yeah, but I'm a character actor. And so the problem I had always, I remember talking to I had one teacher who was not great. I'm going to say he was a great teacher in many ways and an awful teacher in many other ways. But it was very much like I was trying to talk to this person about the fact that I'm a character actor. And he was like, yeah, but your casting's not, so you're fucked. And I was like, well, that's not something I want to hear from a teacher. it's like, and luckily I found my actual mentor, Giles Foreman, who's amazing. He really brought that out of me. He was Giles Foreman, Center of Acting, is in Paris, LA, and London. He was instrumental really in taking the stuff that I already knew about, like method and things like that, which I've been trained in, and really opening that up a lot. With Roberta Wallach as another of my mentors, Lyndon Christ for movement, Jack Malgram's work, that kind of stuff. And it really helped me solidify my confidence again back in the fact that, no, fuck it, man, I'm a character actor. And I always was a character actor. I just got stuck in a non-character actor's face and body, which was tough, because in film and TV, it was like, we're not going to give you those roles. You don't look like it. It's like, yeah, but you haven't fucking seen me do it. So
okay, so for people who don't know, what is a character actor, and what is the face and body of someone who is not one of those?
So there is an old-fashioned terminology between character actors and leading actors. So the idea of a leading actor is somebody that looks like, I don't know, Orlando Bloom is a leading actor. He's not really a character actor. His face is too fucking like, wow. That's a really old reference, actually. I should pick somebody really modern. Who's a modern? I'm really old.
Glenn Powell.
Paul Mescal.
There, okay, whoever that is.
Or Glenn Powell, yeah.
Okay, so that person is a character actor, which means they look good in a bin liner. They're fucking gorgeous. They walk into a room, everybody stops and stares at them. Not because of anything they do, just because, really fundamentally first, because of what they look like. Now, they also, a lot of the time, will have talent, severe amounts of talent in some cases, and they'll just blow your socks off, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
But they may not ever get asked to do anything other than what they do. They do this thing, everybody fucking digs it and loves it, and that's really what they'll be cast as for the majority of their career until they become strong enough, or they choose to, or what have you. They can do whatever they want to do because they bankroll films. So I was in a situation where I would always get for leading roles, again, against people like, Orlando Bloom, Aidan Gillen, like Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, like these people I couldn't beat in film and TV. And it just got to the point where I just couldn't get arrested. I couldn't get a gig. I was always going in with slightly alternative choices than maybe the one that they kind of were pitching me to do. And that was difficult. And then obviously through almost quitting acting and just having a terrible time, I found games. And that allowed me to take my face off. And then it was like, great. I no longer need to be judged on the way I look. I can just show my ability, my craft work, my work ethic, and just pitch these ideas that I know in my gut with now severe amounts of craft work. I spent 15 years pretty much training a whole bunch of different stuff. I can now throw all of this stuff at it, and my face won't hold me back. And my body type won't matter as much because I'm pretty broad and pretty tall. I played, tiny little creatures before. I played 30-foot rock monsters. I played all kinds of things because you can scale in animation in games. So I still do live action. It's great. But in games was where I found my craft really accelerating to where I hope it is now, because I was allowed to be a character actor finally.
I love that.
It's been great.
It's a really good
awesome.
point. Yeah, that like there's nothing about video games that needs you to look a certain way, and that's incredibly freeing.
And even on Baldur's Gate 3, your body type didn't matter, because we had plus size actors that were playing literally the diametrically opposed body type character. The only stipulation that I have, and that is now in the industry, obviously, is appropriate casting to your ethnic background. So if your ethnic background is white, or East Asian or South Asian or something, you should be appropriate to that. I should not be playing African Americans, for instance, etc., etc. But apart from that, you can pretty much play anything within that. I can play an 80-year-old guy. I can play a 250-year-old vampire. I can play a young man. I can play a lead. I can play a character. I can play supporting. You can play anything that is appropriate.
That's a very good point.
I think that's the beauty of it. So now you have character actors who were never cast as the lead because they weren't handsome enough, or they weren't whatever enough, they weren't tall enough, or their body type was wrong. Now they can be leading performers, male and female, and male and female presenting. They can now be leads, and leading performers, or leading men and women, or non-binaries, can now be character actors. So you have this amazing crossover, and all it comes down to is your craft work and your ideas and imagination. For me, that's beautiful. And then, of course, you get to a situation where which is great, where we get to now play different roles on live action because of the stuff we've done in games, which is really cool. So people take you more seriously in a way, which is wonderful, actually.
I love that.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a very long answer to a very short question.
No, please. love that. Abu, do you feel similarly, like with all of the video game stuff that you've done and all of the live action stuff that you've done? Do you find video games to be more freeing?
Absolutely. I mean, like it's
because I feel like there are restraints, right? Like the fact that you aren't physically on a set and you can't see things. Often you're not in the same room.
But like,
sometimes you are physically on a set.
So this is it. Like sometimes you are, and I think like it does vary and depend. I think for me, I remember the most freeing experience I ever had was playing Bayek in Assassin's Creed, because I was in a volume imagining myself being in ancient Egypt. Like, it was all on imagination, and some actors really struggle with that. Some actors really need to have like the cup or the prop or the anchor point, whereas here I was like in my element. I was like, I'm a kid again. This dustbin lid or whatever it is my shield, and Senu, my eagle, is a tennis ball. Like it was like I felt like a kid. And I think like that's the beauty of video games. And I think the fact that anything is possible, anything is achievable. And I think like that's why I love it so much. And it's all, and also there is an appreciation for the musicality of the voice and of the speech and of the dialogue, which a lot of the time in film and TV, it's like, don't talk to me. And you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, okay, you just whispered acting. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what it is. I mean, of course. No, look, of course, like a lot of it is to do with the fact that, like, it's about the eyes, and it's all about the soul, in the sense of like, that's where the camera is kind of going into to kind of deliver something. But I do feel like with games, you can still do that, but also have more fun with it, and I think like there is a lot more play there, I feel, where you can constantly be doing something different, something new, changing, challenging. Whereas I feel with a lot of film and TV, it's that whole thing of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's like, okay, everyone, you do a thing, you know what I mean? And I think like that's why you do see a lot of actors, lead actors, wherever you see them, they're kind of doing the same thing. You've seen their mannerisms before. You've seen them do something like this before. And yeah, so that's why I think games are a lot more freeing, because they allow you to play more. You can be whoever you want, with no sort of no sense of shame of feeling like, oh, but I don't look a certain way.
Totally. Yeah. It makes sense.
It's a great amalgamation between theatre and film. So like you were saying, Abu, like you come in sometimes just with your imagination, a couple of boxes and a squidgy toy that represents, I don't know, some gemstone or something, and you have to fill in those blanks that you do in theatre. Like Waiting for Godot is just a bench. That's it. and you've got to make the entire thing work just with 2 people, what have you. So like working in the volume is like that, but then everything is also a wide and a close-up simultaneously. So you can have that travel distance to the eyes, albeit animated, but you still have to be actively engaged with the craft. You still have to be listening. You still have to be in the moment. And actually, there's no camera off that you may know about. So the whole time you're in the volume, you're working. And even if the camera is not on you, you have not necessarily any idea where the camera is going to be. So it's like theatre, you're just on the whole time. I think all those things coming together, especially like Abu and myself, who have theatre and film training and experience, like going into an environment like this, it's awesome because again, like Abu said, you're not worrying about whether I look right for the role. It's like they're going to make you look right for the role, whether they scan you or not. The main thing you have to worry about is what's the truth of the character, is the life of the character that I'm trying to bring across, and what's the story. And it's really awesome.
I think,
And I'm sure you've had.
Sorry,
Alana.
I was just going to say, I think the point of not knowing where the camera is a really cool one too with video games, because you're right, you don't necessarily know where cutscene director, which they're often called, will even put the camera sometimes.
Like, yeah, I mean, sometimes you do. You can have a virtual camera in there, or you may, like, for instance, I directed Deliver Us Mars, and myself and the narrative director, Raina Archambault, we actually sat down for 2 days prior to the shoot to work out the camera angles that he really wanted to go
interesting.
to.
Like you shot listed.
However, we shot listed knowing, I also said to him, everybody's got a plan until you get hit. And it's that thing of like, yeah, cool, we've got an idea, but let's not be wedded to this idea.
Yeah.
Because in the moment, and sure enough, in the moment, the actor, one of the actors who were brilliant, had an idea, and it's like, well, that's all that work gone. That's okay. We just a framework to go. Let's just get started. Kind of like rough blocking when you're just sort of stepping things through and you don't really know much about anything of the scene yet. It's possible, but it's not necessary. Like you can do all that stuff in post, which is great.
Very cool. Abby, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to basically say that the thing as well, and this is something as well, Neil, maybe you I'm sure you know this, like when it comes to like film and TV, not necessarily theater, maybe theater to a degree, but like I remember, going to drama school and being told like never to have tattoos or never to kind of look a certain way. And like I look at Neil now and I'm like, this is what I want. You know what I mean? But like, but again, this is the thing. It's like you're told very early, like how to look, how to be. Yeah. Whereas in video games, there is this sense of like, what do you want to bring? Yeah, become as you are, and what are you going to bring? What of yourself can you bring?
Yeah.
Which is really, it's like really fascinating. The more I kind of think about it, the deeper I go into it, as just kind of exploring it myself.
I remember starting I started like 15 years ago, and I remember when I started, it was never an issue. I remember like in film and TV, and not theatre so much, but in film and TV a lot, like there was very much this thing of like, oh, don't be too good, or don't show, you don't like push too much, or in terms of like ideas and things like that you're trying to figure out. It was always very much squashed, and it was very much like, just do what's written on the page. It was like, well, okay, that doesn't seem like acting to me then. It seems like just doing it by numbers. Whereas, in the volume, when I started doing work, it was like, oh, you can do that. Oh, cool, you can do that. Okay, great, let's try it. And it was always very much a kind of yes and experience of, I've got a great idea. We've got what we need in the bag. Can I just offer you something up? Or how about this idea? And people were always very, people still are, by the way, still very forward stepping into an idea, at least to try it. Then because the set changes don't exist, or they take 5 minutes, or a scene block, you can actually rehearse. You can actually spend time talking about the scene, the characters, because the costume change is instant. So you have this kind of freedom and flexibility to go, okay, we do have a time pressure. However, we can also rehearse. And now, of course, we can even do rehearsal days. And I always block that in, and other people block that in. And it's awesome to go back to basics of how it used to be, I guess, where you can sit around the table, you can do a line read, you can do a script reading, you can do a few days of rehearsals into the budget, because actually it's cheaper than doing an actual shoot by some margin.
Good point. Yeah.
So there's a lot of really cool stuff that comes now with performance capture or voice work. With voice work, obviously, sometimes there is still a tendency of not sending the script out. Everybody's paranoid, and you just turn up and go, okay, what am I doing today? Hopefully that's changing a little bit. It is changing in the industry a lot more. But essentially there is a lot. You do have that more time to really focus on the work usually. So yeah, I really love this side of the industry because it has some of the best aspects of all parts of the industry.
That's really cool. All that
It is
experience
late and I am
together.
rambling.
No, you're
I love
doing.
it,
You're
man.
so interesting, dude. Like ramble away. We love it. This is such a cheesy segue, but how does all that experience lead you to directing a horror game, Abu?
You know what?
I'm asking genuinely though. Like you
No, I
know, you
know,
have
I
all this
know.
background of experience. Like,
I
what? How
know.
did it shape? You directing Dead Take?
It comes down to essentially like trust and like faith and being able to go as raw and as honest as you can and have fun. Like I think that's the key thing. Like I think like the key thing is to have fun with the horror, to know, because I think the thing about the horror genre, right? Everyone knows what they're getting into when they hear horror. When you're watching a film, you know what you're getting into. When it's different to, like, I feel anyway, to like drama. To a comedy, it's very different as well. I feel like comedy, you're almost like, there's a weird expectation of like, well, go on then, make me laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like with horror, it's almost like this sense of like, yeah, I'm gonna give in. I'm gonna give in. I'm gonna let you have at it. There's no sense of like, well, go on then, scare me. It's like, no, it's like, come on, man, come on, I'm ready. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not afraid.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's true. It's true.
It's so true.
My partner's afraid. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
It's so true. And so this is
when
it.
you talk about horror, sorry man, this is my brain works. I just have this weird image of what is the weirdest horror film I could ever come up with. It'd be like a middle class house. They run out of olive oil in the middle of just before a big party. And that's the horror. It's like, but there's no olive oil. We can't.
What do we
we
do?
can't dress the salad.
That's kind of what they used to be. Like the old theatrical comedies were just like the comedy of
Set in the
and comedy and horror are the same
1970s.
thing, right? Like they're just flips of the same thing. Like of somebody
But
like
this is it.
not finding
This is
something.
it.
they
And
need.
like, and I think like that to me is what's really, I mean, like you look at something like Pearl, for example, right? That's just about a girl who wants to be, a movie star, or like wants to be something better, right? And it's horrific. And I think like that's the thing about horror. It's just having fun with it. And I think the one thing for me that I've really enjoyed is, as you say, this project came about of working with friends, working with people that I really respect creatively, as well as kind of just as human beings, and just having a laugh out of it and being like, cool, this is the concept, this is the idea. How deep can we go? How dark can we go? And let's kind of create the tone and the elements of that. I think if I took it too seriously, I don't think it would be horrific. I don't think it would be, a fun experience. Whereas actually the process of making this game has been so much fun.
That's
so
awesome.
much fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just taught me a lot about like, you've just got to have fun. You've got to enjoy,
It's supposed to be fun. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a joyous experience. You're entertaining people.
True.
Like there's whether or not they get it is entirely their business. But the fact that we get to be entertainers, the fact that we get to, whether it's got a strong message trying to change people's point of view, or whether it is just pure entertainment to give people a moment's respite from the madness of the world and have fun, it's a joyous thing because you're creating and selling joy to people, which is a really wonderful gift for a human being, I think.
It's true. Even if it's horror, that is still what you're doing.
Even
Horror
if it's
is
horror.
fun, like it fundamentally is fun.
Otherwise, people wouldn't watch it. Yeah.
True. We were on set of Carrie the other day, the Amazon TV series Carrie, created by Mike Flanagan because Rahul is in the show. And that day he finished work and was like, I just felt like I just hung out with my mates and had a laugh all day. Like what a wonderful reality of, some facets of acting. There are some things that are extremely difficult about it, and some facets of game development that you can have so much fun while, you're right, making entertainment. Because I feel like if you don't do it that way, it certainly shows in the product. Like things definitely fall apart
it's like
if you try to.
About love, isn't it?
Totally, yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, and it definitely shines through if you aren't passionate about it. And I think the easiest way to get passionate about something is if you're surrounded by a bunch of equally creative people who are also really inspired by it. Like it's difficult to drop that, and that is definitely very important.
I always think that it's interesting with that because, like you say about Carrie being a horror film, like psychological horror as well as supernatural and stuff. That people always have this perception, I feel, that these really awful moments tend to be harrowing for the actor, and they can be very demanding and they can be very challenging. And yes, they can leave you completely wasted and drained. But in my experience, I'd say majority of the time when you're doing these very heavy days, they're actually some of the days you look back with the most fondest memories and go, wow, we did something together. And actually, a lot of the time in between those very heavy moments, I find myself having most fun with people as a way of feeling safe, and as well as a way of, having, obviously not when you need to really focus, but in between that, like over lunch or something, if you can allow yourself a little bit of release, just to have fun with people. I find that in my experience, I've had, like, some of the heaviest days for Astarion, for instance, were also some of the most fun I've ever had working with a whole bunch of people. And when we had to work, we worked. And when these scenes came up that were incredibly heavy, we worked very hard on them. But around that, the day was really fun because obviously, I felt that I needed that kind of balance between doing something exploring something which was incredibly personal and heavy, to also know that it was great and fun and interesting and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff.
I definitely have that
funny.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Randy, like, horror movies tend, in my experience, from being on one and always being on them, but also having friends of mine on them, they tend to be the funniest sets because people are just trying to deal with them.
I was going to say, so in my experience being on VHS Beyond last year, the day I remember the most distinctly was, spoilers for anyone who's not seen VHS Beyond, it came out in October, you had time. I get like horribly mutated, and I have to like go inside of this prosthetic that's built into a wall because my character has been fused into a wall. So it's this silicone head that's been molded on my head, and these arm sleeves, and it's in a wall. So I go behind the wall and I put my head through and I have my arms out, which means that there's nothing, I don't have the ability to hold my own head up properly.
It already sounds hilarious.
It was insane. So I was constantly, my neck was being like, it was genuinely very painful. And I was there for hours inside of that wall. And it was hard enough to get out that I was like, I'm just going to stay in the goddamn wall, because if they had like sound issues or light issues or something, I was just stuck in this fucking wall. There are photos. So they ended up bringing me like an apple box with a pillow on top of it. So I was inside the wall.
Oh, wow.
Like this.
Oh, God. We're really laughing because we know you survived it.
100%. And the director, Kate Siegel, like came over while they were like trying to fix the lights and was playing with my hair inside of this like horrible like prosthetic setup that I had to like make me feel better about it. And that is definitely the day that I remember much more than any of the days where I was just like saying things to a camera. And then like I came home and my boyfriend bought me like Nutella donuts, and I was like, you know what, that was one of the most insane things I've ever done, but definitely like the memorable day from that set, and definitely a ton of laughs. And the photos are hilarious. The photos people have of me being like just like, with a little pillow even by themselves just worth it.
I mean, there are obviously instances which can be horrific for the actor and they're not fun. So I'm not being glib when I say, a lot of the time that can be a really positive thing experienced. I just think if one is lucky, then one gets the good side of it, which is like this, the fun of it. There are many cases where people are exploited, or it doesn't go so well, or risks are taken unnecessarily, or things go really, really wrong. So yeah, I mean, the hope is always, that people are on top of what they're supposed to be doing, and that you have a safe environment and you have it. But but that, for me, I'd be if I was in your position, I would be having a hoot. I would just be
it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would have had, because that's the thing, it's uncomfortable and you're in it, and you choose like, well, I'm just going to stay in it.
Yeah.
I would then start probably acting out in a very funny way, in a good way. Like,
I have to wear this like head sleeve, because if I got out too fast, if I didn't have the head sleeve on, the silicone would like tear my hair out. Like it was a lot.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, it was very fun though. Yeah, it was fun though. It was also just like working on a very indie budget. Was like, we had issues where like the set didn't look quite right, so we just fixed it by poking screwdrivers into things, like just so like just everyone gets together and just like does what they can to make things work.
So follow-up question then. It sounded like you look back with it with great memory.
Yeah.
Were you enjoying it during it? Did you actually manage to get the enjoyment whilst you were in it, or was it only in retrospect?
No, I enjoyed it during it. The only thing that I didn't enjoy was this one particular scene where I was supposed to be floating. We were originally going to have wires. Didn't work
Oh,
out. So
no.
I was on like a series of boxes and I had to like act like I was floating even though I was on top of boxes. And I basically had to have the realization that I would never see my family again. And that was a
Oh, God.
tough one to do as many times as I needed to do it because, like, you know,
Sure.
sometimes the box I was sitting on would accidentally be in camera. I actually think that did end up making it into the movie. Thankfully, most people just don't notice it. Or, like, the camera wasn't focused on the right spot because we used, like, a really
Right.
particular, like, gyroscopic setup. It was very dramatic. And doing that over and over and over again was really tough because not even the performing it part. I actually, like, I didn't know this about myself because I don't have enough acting experience, but when we would cut, I would have to stop myself from having a panic attack because I guess I was doing this over and over and over again so much and doing this breathing and like being so panicked that like my body thought that I was, you know? So whenever we would,
your body starts going
it
into
was really hard to be like, hey, this isn't real, you're acting, because like I think I cried when we stopped doing that. Like we completely cut that. I just walked outside and cried for a second, even though it was nothing related to the scene. It was just that I had been shaking for so long and like speaking in such a broken way that I had accidentally, my body was like, wow, you're really panicked about something, and it wasn't real. So that
It's
specifically,
having a very response to it.
totally. And I just didn't have the tools to like know what to do to stop myself from doing that. But I guess like going for a walk and sitting in the sun did work. But that was the only thing that I found like unpleasant, but still an interesting challenge and an interesting thing to learn about yourself for sure. But the being in the wall and the prosthetic, that stuff was all really fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I think it's always interesting when people always talk to me about like getting into acting and that kind of stuff. And I do try to make them understand that craft work isn't just about exploring the character. It's not just about also being able to script analyze and use different ideas and methodology to create this character. It's also about protecting yourself.
Yeah.
It's also about allowing yourself to have the fictional truth and the jumping into the world that doesn't exist, but does exist for you truthfully in a fictional way, but it also does as much as it can to protect you. I remember having a situation where it was like 3 a.m. it was like -5 degrees or something like that, European, and I'm in a grave and I have to get into a car, and long story short, I have to cry. And my grandmother had passed that week, and I actually off camera I saw somebody flowers saying granny, because it was a real fucking cemetery. And it really affected me. I started crying. It was really awful. But then I realized, like, well, that's the moment. That's me. That's a personal moment to me. I'm not going to use that because that's got fuck all to do with him. Instead, what I chose to use, I think, was like the death of my cat when I was like 20 years old or something like that. It's a cat, and I love that cat, but it's a cat. It's not my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I think, that's the point. It's like we can all try and like, we're told we have to cry. It's like, well, you don't necessarily have to cry. It's like, just have the experience. Don't dictate anything. But I think that's the thing. People force themselves to get this aim of where I need to be. Sometimes people can lose sight of what the craft really is about, which is about the truthful moment. And so if you don't get there, you may get somewhere else, which is actually way more interesting. Abu, you said this earlier, actually. You like the guy, the director came up to you and said, just do it yourself. And that was the take.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we try and force this, I need to be there, I need to be there, I need to be there, I need to do this, I need to cry. It doesn't fucking work.
Too much pressure.
What you're not doing. Too much pressure, but also what you're not doing is following the steps of the story to why that person ends in that situation.
Yes. And I think and it almost is like it brings a truthful presentation of what that character's going through. And I can talk about this, but like, season 2 of House of the Dragon, the final episode where I go at Corlys and I just like kind of tell him essentially, what I think about him and where I am as feeling as this abandoned, like the abandoned child. I remember on the day we did it, and I had this plan of it was me just gonna shout at him and kind of go at him, and I was like, but on the day I remember just thinking to myself, well, actually that's a boo, that's what you would do. You would kind of outburst, you'd go kind of towards, you'd go to that level. What would Alan do? And what ended up essentially happening was me giving this sort of very focused kind of performance, which made the cut. And it's like, that's the key. It's like, think of the character, their journey and where they're going, and find that that connection there and kind of play. It's about play, right? It's about having that fun. Though, even saying that, there was a I remember when I was doing Raised by Wolves, there was a scene where I'm like mowing down like the Mithraic, like the enemy who are kind of invading our home, and I then end up getting like shot up and basically like kind of like die, but I'm an android, so I don't really die, but I end up dying. And I remember we did this scene where I'm literally just on the floor and I'm breathing, and because of the way that I was breathing, my body also, I went into this panic. I went into this sense of like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah.
And it was the thing. Like at the time, I was like so distraught and I was so upset. And then now I look back and I'm like, what the fuck?
Human bodies are crazy, man. You can like trick yourself into some weird stuff.
That's also the gift when you're an actor, because you are, for want of a better term, you're believing something that is truthful but fictional. You're not an android, but you have to believe in a truthful way that you are an android. For instance, you have to understand the character to then go, well, the character would do this because I would do this. This is how I feel because I am the android. It's fictional, but it's true within that. So it's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
it's so nuts.
In conclusion,
it's a crazy thing that
it's fucking nuts.
It's fucking nuts. And that's why I always tell people that want to be actors, don't want to be it. If you need to be an actor, do it. Otherwise, do not be an actor. Ultimately, it is playtime, and that's the great thing about it. It's make believe, and in the best possible way. And I think that's the other thing about being a character actor, or people that have aspirations towards character work in that sense. You have to do what you ought not to do. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? You do what you ought not to do. So if you yourself would go in and scream and rage, you have to look at, does the character like that? Is the character the history of that? Would the character ever do that? And if the character did do that, how fucking extreme the circumstance would have to be to make them do that?
Do you think there would be benefits to studying psychology for being a character actor, to like have better understanding of people?
Yeah, but a lot of it's based on Jungian theory anyway. So for instance, method acting, which is how I started acting, I did 4 years of hardcore method. It was brutal. A lot of it's based on Jungian ideas anyway, or rather Jung is also has a crossover, the shadow self, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things in acting which are deeply, acting is essentially the observation of human behavior. That's what acting is. We are amorphosizing creatures sometimes to be human. Avatar, those creatures are like big blue tail, hot looking things. They are very human. They all have human personalities. There's never a moment where I look at that alien and go, that's a complete alien construct. No, these are human beings. Garrus in Mass Effect, human, absolutely human, even though they're not human. We amorphosize these creatures into being human because acting, from our point of view, is all about the study of humanity. So I think any actor should not sound off to people about psychology unless you are a trained therapist or counselor, because that's bullshit as well. But I think it's very important that actors, as part of their study, read beyond acting books. I do extensively. I have done extensively because I realized, it's not just about acting, it's about life. So you have to read the news. You have to keep up, even if it's horrible and awful. You have to read left and right wing and middle papers. You have to look at all different sources of humanity.
Writing's the exact same. I've said this on the show before, I don't doubt, but like you don't really have anything to say if the only thing that you're consuming is things about writing. You have to have lived a life. You have to have worked at McDonald's. Like, you have to have done things to have things to say.
I would never say that people have to have a hard existence to be a great artist. I think
no,
that's
definitely not true.
I also don't wish people to have a hard existence to become a great artist. I think that's awful. But if you do have hardships, it is always good to reflect and look and understand yourself. And psychology is a big part of that, understanding your own behavior. Doesn't mean you're going to be fixed. Doesn't mean that acting is therapy. It's absolutely not therapy. I tried that. Doesn't work.
It does for writing. It really does for writing. Writing as therapy is fantastic.
Okay. It's not. Acting's not therapy.
Yeah, acting doesn't seem great.
No, it's not therapy. But it does give you a greater appreciation of how complicated we all are and how wonderful the complications are in many ways, not just in story but in life as well. I'm a avid obsessive watcher of people. I will drift off in the middle of, especially on journeys like train rides or like bus rides or walking down the street. I get very distracted very easily for many reasons, but one of the reasons I always get lost in people's stories. I see somebody walking past, I study their movement, and I'm just trying to imagine a life based purely on how they move and how they interact and what they sound like, that kind of stuff. And it's this constant machine. Sometimes it's very distracting, but it's very useful because it's very interesting and enjoyable to go, I wonder what this person's life is, and without kind of like romanticizing it, just thinking, what is this? But who is this person? You know. And I think that's the great part about being an actor, is the exploration of somebody that you're not. So you end up doing what you ought not to do.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, I like that phrase. I think there's also there's definitely a thing where I love watching people try to act drunk, because the layers of that are so interesting. Yeah, well, because you have to consider that most people who are drunk are trying to act like they're not drunk. So if you're acting drunk, it's not honest. Like
you have to act drunk trying not to be drunk.
Yeah, it's so complicated.
Anybody ever needs like a guide, you've nailed it on the head. That is exactly how you play drunk.
Yeah.
You're not drunk. You're just not drunk.
Yeah, I also I also think that there's something especially heartbreaking, I feel like for male characters especially, about not men sobbing, which I'm sure can often feel like the right thing to do, but watching men try not to cry. So like they're really trying not to rather than trying to is so much more painful to watch in a lot of ways, and so much more honest, but probably a lot harder to do than just the crying. Just go all out crying.
I think ultimately, again, it's not about the aim of it. There's a great book by there's two great books I would reference. One's by Declan Donnellan called The Actor and the Target, which is all about blockages. He's a great theatre director and teacher. There's another one called Zen in the Art of Archery, which has nothing to do with acting. And it's about, I think the German writer is called Hermann Hesse or something like that. And it is literally about this German guy in the 50s trying to discover Japanese Zen, and nobody will teach him. And he moved to Japan, and he ended up doing archery, but longbow archery, like proper like Japanese longbow, which is incredibly difficult and takes decades to master. And through the whole thing is based upon his accidental discovery of what Zen is after being rejected by many Japanese teachers about Zen, until he finally gets what Zen is. And it's a very interesting book for anybody, irrespective of whether you're an actor or not, because it teaches you the fundamental takeaway is that it is not the target that you're aiming to do. The target is immaterial. The target will hit regardless of whatever happens. The main thing is the process of picking the bow, drawing the bow, notching the arrow, drawing again, loosing the bow in the correct environment, direction, somewhere, knowing that it will hit. And that's the thing about crying scenes, like Abu, you were saying earlier. You know, you don't need to be crying. You just have to go through the process of like, what is happening right
What is happening? What leads me to this?
What leads me?
The journey?
And this moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment. And eventually, when you get to the end of that scene, whatever happens is the truth.
Is the truth.
And that's
the
target.
Yeah.
This is such a weird aside to even have, but when I was in London like a month ago, I actually spoke to someone who was a professional archer. And just at a bar, just met this woman who does archery. And
get a bow on the back, you're like, you're an archer.
How did you know? It was super interesting. She was basically like, there are more people who have like mental breakdowns through the process of archery and end up leaving and never coming back, because there is something about the pressure of that exact moment that every single failure is your own, and if you do any of those steps incorrectly, so like it's apparently a really, really difficult thing to do mentally. That like people have trouble sustaining doing it because they get so anxious in that exact moment that I'm like not surprised there's a book about it. It sounded horrific.
Because I'm gonna argue. I have trained in archery. I'm not an archer. I would not describe myself as being particularly amazing. But I know how to draw a bow and shoot a bow properly. I would warrant that it's because of perspective, and it's because of modern life perspective. We are told that if we practice, we are going to become good at something. We are told that life is fair when it's not. We are told that we should be brilliant at everything. We should do everything when we can't, and it's difficult. And I think as the actor, that's why the actor must have an open mind. I'm going to relate it to acting specifically. You must come with an acting mind, people that study and want to become actors and performers in that way. Because the pressure, as you were saying earlier, Abu, of doing this, of looking a certain way, of getting this role, of doing this stuff, is so overwhelming that it quashes the reason you became an actor in the first place if you're not careful. And you have to embrace your failures. I actually think people learn more through their failures and reveal more about themselves when they succeed. You know, you don't learn anything from your successes. You learn a fucking shit ton from your failures. So if one can enter into a space and go, it's going to be a fucking, you know, I just made a mess. Cool. That's fine. You've learned a lot from that. Now you can go and succeed, which isn't going to teach you any more than you already know. So if you can have that perspective of a glad heart, especially when you, like me and like Ben, like everybody else, we got to work with a trusted friend that we felt super safe with. Abu's directing is awesome. So we always felt like, okay, we're in the right direction. Not sure where it's going to end up, but we're in the right direction. This is great. Then you can make a mess, you can fail, and none of it is pressure. It's actually the fun part in a way, because then you've got this great idea and inspiration and impulse that comes out. Oh, wait, let me try this. Ben had a moment actually where Ben was like, oh wait, let me try this. You should try this. And you were like, yeah, let's do it. I was there watching it, and Ben did this thing. I'm not going to tell you about it. You have to play the game. But it was fucking awesome. Yeah. And that came about because Ben, like myself, like many other actors, embraces failure and says, well, that didn't work, but I've got a great idea that can work.
I did that for Dead Take even. I think I gave you like 10 takes of something, Abu, and I did them all completely differently. And then I was like, I guess I shouldn't talk about what I was doing, but like completely differently in terms of like, no, I can't explain it at all, but they're all super different. And that was really fun. I've actually never been able to do that before, where I was like, well, let me do the 0 version of this, and then the 10 version of this, and then the version of this that's like kind of bad. But I was like, you have all of them and check out what they look like.
Have it all.
It was really, really fun for me to do. Like, it was like, honestly, I really enjoyed it.
And it's so great. And I think that's the beauty of it. Again, it's by not being afraid to making it like a fool of yourself or fail or you know. And I think like that is the key thing. And this is kind of even the way that we've kind of approached this whole game as a whole. It's like we're just like, let's just fucking have fun. Like let's just have fun with it. You know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Such a funny way to talk about a horror game, but I get it. Like, I love it.
But you know what I mean? But like even down to the marketing, the idea of being like, let's just drop a teaser. Like, you know, and this is something that I know most people won't necessarily recognize or realize. But we have a completely different logo to the first teaser than we have to the second teaser.
That's funny.
There is a big reason as to why that is because when we did the first teaser, we're like, no, let's fucking drop it. And then it just didn't work. We were like, oh, fuck, okay, let's just change it. And then we changed it. And it's great.
You totally should have led with, there's a secret that you can find out if you play it. Just like
it was just like, we just didn't like the first logo. We were like, it doesn't actually look that great.
Indie,
okay,
man.
Let's just do
what a
another
fun
one.
spot to be
you know
in.
What I mean? But it's like, but this is it. We were just like, fuck it, doesn't matter. Couldn't do that with anyone else. You know what I mean?
And that's a beautiful note for us to end on. Neil, what have you been up to? Where can people find you?
Oh man, I've been very busy. So I'm going to be back on the convention circuit as well. So you'll be seeing me all over the States and Europe as well. I'll be got a D3 podcast, D3 Pod, which is a radio play-esque D&D session, which is really fun, which we're having a lot of fun with. I'm directing something which I can't talk about. I'm in about 5 things I can't talk about. I'm producing 2 things I can't talk about. And I'm trying to have a somehow balanced life through all of that as well.
Well, good luck.
So
we will stay tuned. Yeah. Abu.
My friend Abu.
Yes, Abu. What are you up to? Where can people get Dead Take?
Oh my god. Yes, Dead Take.
It's out
That's
right
gonna
now.
Be out by the time
it's
right
out.
now. So it's on Steam or Epic's Game Store. So pick your poison. It's PC at the moment only. Depending on how it goes, we might go to platforms, but we'll see. But I'm currently filming season 3 of House of the Dragon, which is going to be super epic. So once that's ready and cooked, I can't wait for people to see that. And it's going to be grand. So yeah, that's what I'm busy. That's what I'm doing.
Amazing. I love that. I forgot we have one question from the audience for both of you before we go. This is from Davey Leonard. Yes, they're here right now. They're just behind my PC, which I love. Just what are some of your favorite movies? Favorite movies or favorite albums?
No, not doing that. Sorry.
It's too much pressure. I know it's hard, isn't it?
No,
I hate the favorite games question.
What is okay? Here's something. What about something that you've watched right now? Have you seen anything recently that kind of has really stuck with you?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I mean, I don't even know if you even have time to watch anything. Dude. Like,
I watched
not
Anora
much.
last night, and I wasn't sure that I would like it because I felt like a lot of the conversation about it was like, it's a sex movie. Thought it was brilliant. Very
is it?
good film. Anora?
Anora?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I saw Anora as well. Like, while I
So
was in
good,
Wales.
dude.
Have you seen Anora, Neil?
No, I have not. No, I'm still. I have. You have to understand that my list of games that I have to play is here. My list
Right.
of movies is that.
Yeah.
So I indulge myself whenever to do admin tasks by watching old movies. So I
Right.
actually watched Kind Hearts and Coronets the other day for like the 10th
Oh
time,
wow.
which is an awesome study of character work by Alec Guinness, where he plays 10 different family members who all get bumped off one by one in this sort of comedy murder mystery.
It's a good
Wow, that's
film.
crazy.
Healing
Yeah, I haven't seen
comedy.
it.
It's fucking great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Shit like that. So I mean, to be honest with you, no, I know of Nora. I know I need to see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
you
had
do.
way
It's-
more like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels kind of vibe than I was expecting it to.
Yeah.
Oh, not expecting that.
I
Either.
know.
That's
I didn't
weird.
expect that
Okay.
at all.
Right.
It's funny. It's shot in
It's
a really
hilarious.
like way funnier than I thought.
Right,
Really
I'll put it on
like
my list.
intimate, personal way where it's not shot in a way that's cinematic. It's shot in a way that's people taking you on a journey, if that distinction makes sense, which I think is like brilliant directing for what this movie is. And the final scene has so much weight to it considering what happens in it. Like I thought it was really good. I was like, damn, okay, you deserved all the awards. My bad. I'm sorry I judged you. It was a really
Alright,
good movie.
cool.
I guess we
Oh yeah,
we leave
okay,
it there?
cool. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you could give me a
Alright,
favorite album, favorite music album. You got one of those?
I don't talk about my personal preferences purely because I think it's detracts from the characters I play. So I don't
Interesting.
mind talking about my roleplay geekiness as a kid, or my acting enthusiasm as a kid, or inspirations as actors. I tend not to talk about my personal likes because I actually far more. I want to push the characters front and center.
Interesting.
So I always feel like the more people know about, oh, Neil listens to this music, and when he does the dishes, he listens to that, or all that kind of stuff. I feel it just eats away at the possibilities of my characters that I can play and what they like. So if you see a character rocking out to a certain thing, I don't want people to think, oh, did Neil?
That's Neil rocking out.
That's
No,
Neil
it's the
rocking
character.
out. I want to think the character's rocking out. To that.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I never really talk about that stuff, actually, to be honest. Yeah.
That in itself is a great answer. We will leave it there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Dead Take is out right now. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can check it out. Go play it.
Go play.
We're all in it. I think you are also in it, Abu, I believe. I think I
I'm
saw
not
you
in
in
it.
that trailer. No?
You don't know. You don't
Probably
know.
not.
He
You
might
don't
be
know.
in it. I don't, well, I probably do because
I'm gonna cut
I
myself
might
from
be
it.
playing it right now. You don't know that. And we will see you guys
Plays
next
a duck.
time.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.